What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with macro data, don't really have that much this week. So Monday, it's going to be more technical driven. Tuesday, we have building permits and starts. In the past, that hasn't really moved the market, whether that data is bullish and bearish. Aside from that, though, Wednesday, we do have the FOMC minutes. Back in first half of 2024, yes, that was a very big deal. Nowadays, not all that much. It doesn't even move the market at all. So that's going to be coming out on the Wednesday. A lot of Fed speakers as well throughout the week, one of which is Powell on Friday. So potentially what is stated could really move the market. And then aside from that, you have some flash data, and that is coming out on Thursday. That could be, in my opinion, probably the most volatile day, only because if you couple that with companies unveiling the earnings, you have Walmart. 2 quarters ago, Walmart was very doom and gloomish, gave horrible future guidance, and that spooked the hell out of the market. So you couple that flash data with Walmart, and potentially, again, if they reiterate their negative stance on the economy, that could spark a lot of fear. No different than what happened 2 quarters ago. So just, again, something to keep in mind. Potentially might not result in anything, but it also at the same time could. So just be aware on Thursday morning, it might be extra volatile. Aside from that, and specific to SoundHound, there hasn't been any news, nothing really planned for this upcoming week. So like I said, no news. There was a couple SEC filings, Form 4s, just a lot of individuals acquiring shares, but that is linked to this right here, the S8 that did come out August 11th. So yeah, it's good the fact that insiders, I guess, are receiving shares. Technically, it's all been voted on in the past through shareholder meetings, so it's not new information. But at the same time, I'd much rather them have more shares than selling, because when I first started covering SoundHound, that was a little bit of a tentative issue. But yeah, aside from that, it's going to be more of a technical driven week. One thing I do want to mention, completely kind of unrelated to this week, my apologies on not doing a lot of videos. I did take a trip, as I mentioned, to New York. It was for kind of more of a launch event with Mumu, so I'll kind of talk on that in a second. But I did also visit the Lucid studio in New York. So I test drove their Gravity, and I grilled the advisor on a lot of different things. And one thing that he had a huge appreciation for was SoundHound. And it wasn't me. I did not bring up SoundHound or anything. He's like, hey, we have this new Lucid Assist, and it's through SoundHound. It's a game changer. He single-handedly spoke very highly of SoundHound. So this is firsthand, I guess, a customer of SoundHound's actually speaking very positively, because you see SoundHound say, yeah, our customers are happy and growing, blah, blah, blah. But this is the first time I've ever heard or seen a post of a customer saying very good things about Lucid. So definitely got to give hats off to SoundHound. They're focusing and doing the right thing ultimately. So Lucid's very happy with that, in my opinion. And same with what the advisor mentioned, Lucid's customers are very happy about that. So good to know. I did do a little bit of a test, so I'll post that tomorrow. I tested it, and yeah, it's pretty cool. But then again, we've kind of seen demos of it, so it's nothing really new. But aside from all of that fun stuff going into this upcoming week, 30.89% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 112.7 million shares overall being shorted. So shorts obviously have been very much active with SoundHound for a very, very long time, and anticipate them to be fairly active, probably more oriented towards that Thursday type of event day. So again, don't be surprised if shorts do really double down. On Friday, they did increase 1.1 million shares. But still, I think that generally the broader market, aside from maybe Walmart spreading some doom and gloom, will kind of move higher. So that's just my opinion, of course. Looking at the options, you do see a consensus for this upcoming week for it to be roughly around that $16 to kind of $17 range. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 15. So kind of a little bit more upside given where it did close. This is the open interest. So with it closing at 1560 or 1559 on Friday, that does mean that the 1550 and below strike prices are in the money. Big one was at that 15. Most likely that won't really amount to any kind of bump up come Monday, in my opinion, because 8,000 is kind of chump change. Even looking forward into this upcoming week, you don't really have any crazy walls. So that potentially could be a good thing, because normally shorts and market makers have a financial interest in ensuring most of these expire worthless. But since there's no strong walls, there might be no real incentive for them to kind of double down and manipulate the stock price, in my opinion. So yeah, it's kind of a positive, at least looking forward into this upcoming week. SoundHound could essentially really move higher. With it closing at that 15.59 on the Friday, it is trading between R3 and R2. So in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks, SoundHound is actually doing very, very good. I know a lot of people complain about SoundHound, but I think given the circumstances, it's doing pretty good. Last earnings as well is a good indication of that. 15.16 is going to be that next strong support. Wasn't tested on Friday. I believe it was tested on Thursday, but going forward, if you're wanting to average down, dollar cost average or whatever, orient it around these. So 15.16, 14.20. 16.71 is going to be that next strong target / resistance. And if it is able to get above that, then you can kind of look over to the classic. $20.77 potentially could be that next point. So yeah, $20 back for SoundHound would be pretty epic. And I think in the grand scheme of things, SoundHound still, based on their last earnings, they are growing, but they're still, in my opinion, very, very safe because all their revenue is, for the most part, equally divided. They could easily really push hard and probably 2x their revenue. Of course, there's certain risks involved with that, but nonetheless, if they really, really tried, this stock could be massive. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Aside from all that fun stuff, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings since my last video, which was I think on the Wednesday or something. So 6 days ago, Latenberg, Glenn, who has a 50% success rating, upgraded $16 price target. As a consensus, 15.29, which does represent a 1.92% downside from these levels. But then again, a lot of innovative stocks, kind of that's exactly what does happen. So let me know your viewpoint on that. There hasn't been any new articles really coming out associated to SoundHound that's worth kind of bringing up. On the actual chart itself, with it closing at that 15.59, it did close below that ALMA, so potentially showing signs that it does want to consolidate a little bit further. But in my opinion, I'm not really overly worried because SoundHound did move up quite a lot. So a little bit of consolidation is still very healthy and good for kind of the overall trend. As long as it keeps making higher highs and higher lows, then essentially the trend is set. And again, going back to my quick trip, I actually did visit the NASDAQ, and I kind of went off the tour and I spoke to a lot of analysts, and they gave me their insight on exactly the technical indicators that they use themselves, that the NASDAQ uses. I don't know, I've never heard of kind of some of the stuff. So I'm going to put out the video of that as well, because for those of you that like technical analysis, this one was definitely outside of the box and it made perfect sense. So it's kind of crazy, but nonetheless, going into this upcoming week though, the only negative I do want to bring up is the fact that stochastic RSI does indicate that SoundHound is overbought. A lot of stocks are, but if there is a sign of weakness, let's say coming from Walmart, Trump comes out associated to some tariff relation or whatever else, then you could see some consolidation as a byproduct of that. So again, something just to keep in mind. And one thing I do want to share with you though, is ultimately Mumu did launch algorithmic trading. So I'm going to be doing a deeper dive on that exact thing. But right now, Mumu actually does have a pretty kick-ass promo where if you do deposit just $100, you get 50% back. So they give you a $50 cash just instantly in your account. This is one of the best return on investments for a lot of individuals, instant. So I recommend a lot of people signing up for this. Take advantage, link in the description below and also the comments. But like I said, their new launch of algorithmic trading, because I know I've mentioned algorithmic trading quite a few times, but very few brokers actually do allow retail to do their own algorithmic trading. So this is a very unique thing. So I recommend a lot of people to kind of sign up and get that $50, or even if you deposit more, you get other promos, but still, I think that one's a pretty good return on investment if you ask me. So nonetheless, hopefully everyone has had a good weekend. Stay tuned for following videos. Like I said, the demo with in the lucid gravity, also on algorithmic trading and many other things. So definitely stay tuned for following videos. But I think generally speaking, this week is going to be fairly bullish for SoundHound. So let me know your thoughts on that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.